I would like to call to order the Monday, January 27th, 2025 Common Council meeting to order. Clerk Toronto, I believe you would like to make some comments regarding the link for this meeting and other expectations.
Good evening, members of the public. For audio quality, we will be muting everyone not speaking by default to maintain good audio quality for council members and yourselves. If you would like to speak during the meeting on an agenda item or during privilege of the floor, please submit your request in the chat. Directions to do so will be listed in the chat. We ask that you provide your full name, address, and the topic you are speaking on, as those are required for all speakers at in-person council meetings. If you would like to be called on during the meeting to provide public input, please insert the following into the chat and you will be called on during the relevant time for public input. My name is full name and I live at address, and I would like to speak on, for, or against an agenda item. You will then be given 5 minutes to speak. Please be sure to unmute yourself prior to giving your remarks. Thank you.
First of all, I want to welcome all of the residents of South Bend here tonight. Thank you for being here tonight and participating. We have terms of expectations. Disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. And such speech or actions, as well as verbal attacks on any person, may result in the individual without notice forfeiting the remainder of his or her allotted time. Again, we're so grateful to have all of you here today, and these are the terms of our expectations. If I would have known Pastor Carl Hedler was in the audience, I would have him do the invocation today, but will we all stand and bow our heads, please? Heavenly Father, we come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve the residents of South Bend. We ask for your guidance as we gather to discuss and deliberate the matters that impact our community. Grant us the wisdom, humility, and discernment so that our decisions reflect justice, fairness, and compassion for all. Help us to work together in unity, setting aside personal differences to focus on the greater good. May our conversations be respectful, our hearts be open, and our actions be guided by integrity. Bless this council, our city leadership, and all those who call South Bend home. And may our efforts today contribute to building a stronger, more inclusive, and vibrant community for all. In your holy name we pray. Amen. We will now also remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. One more time, thank you all for being here today. With that being said, Clerk Toronto, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gooden Rogers. Councilmember McBride.
Present.
Councilmember Warner. Present. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Present.
Councilmember Niskoski.
Present.
Councilmember White.
Present.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Present.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Present.
President Lee.
Present.
All 9 council members present.
All right, we will now have a report from the subcommittees on minutes for January 6, 2025 and January 13, 2025.
To the Common Council of the City of South Bend, the subcommittee has inspected the minutes of the January 6th, 2025 and the January 13th, 2025 meetings of the council and found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved.
Councilman Warner?
Move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. We will now have, for special business, Board of Public Safety Merit Commission election applications. Bob? Oh, Clerk Toronto. Okay, all right. We're letting everyone know that applications to be on the Police or Fire Merit Board will go online tonight or tomorrow morning? Wednesday morning, okay. But, and a press release will follow. So thank you very much. All right. We have no reports from city officers. And with that being said, I will now entertain a motion to resolve into the committee of the whole.
So move, second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposition? Now turn it over to Counselor Warner.
Thank you, sir. The committee of whole is now in session. This is the portion of the council's meeting where bills are given a second reading and a public hearing before a committee made up of all 9 council members. All bills set for this second reading and public hearing have previously been given a first reading and a committee hearing prior to this evening's meeting. In addition, we will hear from the chairperson of that standing committee where the bill was discussed and the results of that discussion. If the proposed ordinance is a zoning ordinance, a report from a staff member will be given. In all other situations, the formal presentation on the proposed ordinance will immediately follow the committee report. The formal presentation shall be untimed, as provided by Chapter 2, Article 1. Immediately following the formal presentation of the bill, council members will have an opportunity to ask preliminary questions of the staff and presenters. Then members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council in the public hearing portion. Following that public portion, the discussion shall then return to the council, where members of the council debate, further ask questions, and make motions on the bill under consideration. I kindly remind all council members to respectfully address himself or herself to the chair to be recognized prior to speaking, please. When 2 or more council members seek recognition at once, the chair will name the member who shall speak first. A council member shall only be granted the right to speak a second time on the question or issue on the table after each member has had an opportunity to speak on said issue or question. Clerk Toronto, will you please give Bill 01-25 a second reading?
Public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 1408 Elwood Avenue, Councilmanic District Number 2, in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you. Councilman Davis, is there a committee report?
Yes, there is, Mr. Chair. And the Zoning and Annexation Committee met this afternoon, had a lively discussion on bill number 01-25, and we bring this bill to you tonight with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Morel. How are you this evening?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I ask that you state your name and address and share the key points of Bill 2501 for us.
Skip Morel, Principal Development Planner with offices on the 14th floor of this building. This property is located at 1408 Elwood Avenue. Owner is the Civil City of South Bend, and the request tonight is a rezoning from what's currently I Industrial to U3 Urban Neighborhood 3. This is a view of the site from overhead, and then a view looking at it from the north, so looking south. Historically, this property has had a mix of industrial uses. Most notably, this is the former Drury's Brewery location. For some neighborhood context surrounding, it's primarily a dense single-family neighborhood that was mainly built up in the 1920s. At the site itself, all the former buildings have been demolished and the site has been cleared to make way for redevelopment. The rezoning to U3 Urban Neighborhood 3, which is a residential zoning district, would be consistent with the city plan objective H1 to ensure an adequate supply of housing is available to meet the needs, preferences, and financial capabilities of households now and in the future. And this comes to you from the Plan Commission with a favorable recommendation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Council members, any questions for Mr. Morel? Councilman Lee.
Yep. Can you tell everybody how much money from the EPA has been invested in order for us to be at this point?
I think that would be a better question for Joe to answer.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Welcome, Mr. Molnar.
Good evening, council members. Joe Molnar, Assistant Director, Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. As Mr. Moreau was stating, this is in regards to the former Drury's Brewery Complex, which is currently owned by the civil city of South Bend, and that's a serving representative of the Board of Public Works. This zoning action would only impact what's outlined here in blue on this older aerial, which just shows what came with the former Drury's parcel. Just to provide some background and to get to a little bit of what Councilmember Lee was talking about, in August of 2022, this is what the site looked like. The city had acquired possession during the summer of 2022 through the county tax sale process. The former Drury's Brewery site, which is approximately 14 acres, the buildings dated back to the mid 1800s, was improperly demolished by the previous owner, which did not undergo environmental review. This was also the culmination of years of neglect by that owner and previous owners. The city acquired, like I said, through the tax sale process in the summer of 2022 and immediately began to secure the site to keep youth out that were continuously accessing the site and were in danger, as well as we proceeded with environmental review, so environmental testings, both a phase 1 and phase 2, and began to plan for remediation. In December of 2022, the city announced a partnership with the Environmental Protection Agency for the initial phase of cleanup, specifically targeted to the asbestos contaminated materials. That cleanup cost approximately $1.7 million from the EPA, and they removed approximately 14,000 tons of debris. And that was primarily the most oldest portion of the brewery that was demolished. In December of 2023, after that EPA cleanup, this is what the site looked like. So although it was clean from an environmental standpoint, it was certainly not pretty or safe at that point either. There were still large piles of debris and exposed rebar, as well as a number of buildings that still remained that were deteriorated beyond repair. Here's a close-up of some of those foundations. They have about a 10 to 12-foot drop. After the EPA relinquished site control back to the city, planning began on further remediation. Phase 1 of that city portion was removal of the smaller outbuildings and the remainder of the debris that the EPA did not take care of. Phase 2 of the city's cleanup, which happened this past fall, was the removal of the large remaining brewery buildings, the grain silos, and underground infrastructure. The city's phase 1 and phase 2 was approximately $1.77 million. Also, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, the city petitioned for them, and they removed the underground storage tanks, which were on site dating back to the brewery timeframe, and that was approximately $275,000. This is what the site looked like after phase 1 of the city's work in August of 2023. So you can see the outbuildings were removed, but there was still a number of buildings left. And this is the site approximately today, at the end of December of 2024, after the city's phase 2. All buildings have been removed. The only structure remaining is the smokestack, and then some foundations left over from the older brewery that have been excavated of rubble, but just not removed yet. Just to put a button on it, this was before city ownership in the spring of 2022, and this is that same image today, looking towards the south. The next steps for the site, city's phase 3, which should be the final cleanup phase, will commence this summer, which is removal of those final foundations, as well as some partial soil removal and testing to make sure we clear any environmental hurdle and make sure that the site is 100% clean. And then begin process to secure funding for renovation of the site, as well as solicit developer partners. It is the city's opinion that I Industrial is no longer appropriate for this property, and rezoning it to a residential classification allows the city to move forward with the next steps with confidence when talking with developers and other community nonprofits and partners that the site can actually be developed for the residential use. This is a concept plan that the city had put together that I want to stress it is very much a concept plan. But the idea would be you'd run a road through the site with single family residential along it and then maybe some denser units closer to Elwood. But again, this is a non-final, just concept plan to give kind of the ideas of what could happen on this site, which was an eyesore for so long. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions either regarding the former state of the cleanup for the site or the future.
Thank you. Council members, Councilmember Davis.
Thank you for your report. I appreciate everything you've been doing. What do you put together to help in the future for residents to feel that this is a safe area after so long of a history of it being a contaminated area where now you can go and move your children, dog, cat, and everything else, and they won't be poisoned? Because, you know, we've had so many cleanups in our city that we got to go back and think about everything on the west side over there, and they had to keep back and doing the soils and things. So what will help us to what will help us to not have to do those kind of things where 5 years down the road, we're getting people coming back and saying that the soil and everything
Sure.
else is messed up?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, because it was a brewery for the longest time of its history, the soil, even when it before any cleanup had began, the phase 2 for the soil actually came back that it was pretty, there weren't that many hits. There were a few isolated incidents. Now that the site is cleared, we'll be able to go and remove those small pockets. The site is already cleared for a residential, just not single family. So that's the last step, is to remove that restrictive covenant. I would say when that's removed, we could point to that. That would be the EPA and the Indiana Department of Environmental pointing that the site is clean and ready to move forward.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Council members with questions. Mr. Molnar, what's the plan for the smokestack there?
The neighborhood had a planning process back in, I believe, 2018. And one of the items that came out of that planning process was, well, we actually kind of like the smokestack. You know, it's an identifier for the neighborhood. It is structurally sound. We had a structural assessment on it. There are some minor repairs that needed to it, but I believe it can stand. So the idea would be possibly as part of, you know, the larger redevelopment is we could paint it, make it look more appealing to the neighborhood, and maybe, you know, have Measle down at Measle Grove or something like their South Bend, something to give it, you know, an identity for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
But that's a community discussion we'll have down the line. We didn't want to demolish it when it wasn't, you know, there was no structural need to.
Any other council member? McBride.
Thank you, Chair. I also have a question. I know it's not directly related to this, but does the next phase incorporate the old Portage location? Is that a part of this bigger, larger plan, or is that a total separate plan?
So this rezoning does not have anything to do with that. The Portage Elwood market area, the City Redevelopment Commission did purchase that center back in December. So now they're both held under city ownership. Surely any large scale redevelopment of this site would consider that site as well. But at this time, we don't have any linked plans between the two, but we certainly think now that the city has ownership of a very large site, you know, we believe is very attractive along the new coal line trail, close to the river. A lot of positives moving in the direction. We think it can only go up from there. And certainly we hope to see redevelopment of that site in the future too.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other council members with questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the public hearing. At this time, we'll go to the public hearing portion. Members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council, beginning with members of the public in favor, each limited to 5 minutes, and then going to members of the public against, each limited to 5 minutes. Any members of the public wishing to speak in favor in the chambers first? Any members online wishing to speak in favor?
I do not see any members
Any members?
of the public in person or online wishing to speak in
Any
favor.
members of the public in person wishing to speak against? Any members of the public online wishing to speak against?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Any further questions, comments, debate, discussion? Councilmember Lee.
Yes, I would just like to say that The first district adopted juries after Tim Scott stepped down. And I am so proud of the work that has happened over there. Many people didn't think it would ever happen. And so to see those buildings come down and to see how fast you guys are working, I'm excited about the revitalization of this area. And so I am very much in support of it. And I look forward to the next phase.
I want to just springboard off that. I think the staff, I know there was an effort for a long time to try to hold the owner and past owners accountable, and that effort wasn't going anywhere. And I commend the city staff starting, I think, back to 2018, literally thousands of hours poured in getting possession of the property, working with the EPA to get the property cleaned up and moving forward. It's very exciting, especially an opportunity to springboard with the Portage and Elwood shopping center there and have a one large greenfield development within the middle of the city of South Bend. That's transformational for that area. So, any other council members?
Ready to make a motion?
Okay, I'm ready for a motion if you got one.
Like to make a motion to send this to full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, will you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Vice President Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
9 ayes.
0125 will go to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Clerk Toronto, will you please give Bill 02-25 a second reading?
Public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 616 Sherman Avenue, Councilmanic District Number 1 in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Davis, is there a committee report?
Yes, there's a committee report. We bring this bill to the full council with a recommendation of positive. We favor this recommendation. Think it's going to do well.
All right, thank you. Mr. Morel, I ask state your name and address and share the key points with us. Thank you.
Skip Morrell, Principal Development Planner with offices on the 14th floor of this building. The property here is located at 616 Sherman Avenue. Owner is Property Brothers LLC, and the request tonight is for a rezoning from currently U3 Urban Neighborhood 3 to U2 Urban Neighborhood 2. This is a site as it exists today. This is actually a picture from a recent celebration of a newly constructed pre-approved duplex in the northeast or in the near northwest neighborhood. For some context in the neighborhood, this is largely established in the late 1890s and early 1900s as a walkable urban environment with a mixture of housing types. In the last few decades, a number of houses have been demolished, resulting in vacant lots. There's a lot of new building in this area. This site included is actually part of a construction of several new duplexes along Sherman Avenue. Specifically, looking at the request for tonight, this parcel was rezoned from U2 to U3 in 2023 to allow for a sixplex. Ultimately, the duplexes worked out better, so that's what they're constructing now. As you can see, one was recently completed. The idea here is to rezone this parcel so that it's zoned the same as the parcels around it. Some of the lot lines are moving around a bit to accommodate an extra duplex, actually, so we're kind of fitting in an extra housing unit in there. But because the lot lines are sliding around, we don't want a lot to be split zoned between U3 and U2. This rezoning would allow for consistent zoning along the street. And this comes to you from the Plan Commission with a favorable recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from the petitioner? Welcome.
Good evening, Chris Godlewski, Abbott Marsh Consultants, 315 West Jefferson Boulevard, South Bend. I represent the petitioner. Skip covered that pretty well with the details of why we're here tonight to get consistent zoning. And this came from a replat from 3 lots to 4, and not having a zoning district split a lot is a good thing. And that's why we're asking for the rezone. And as Skip mentioned, there was pre-approved home plans to fit these specific size lots. And with this home builder is going to construct them. So everything's kind of lining up to make a very, very stable and walkable neighborhood. Ask for your approval and I'll take any questions you have.
Thank you. Council members, any preliminary questions?
Thank you.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you for your presentation this afternoon and tonight. You were talking about the consistency. How many homes are we talking about possibly in this area that you would like to really develop and put together so the community would know?
Well, for this specific builder, there's 4 lots available. I think all of them are duplexes, or at least most of them. So that's 2 units per lot. I can't speak to the remainder of the street, but this is definitely infill development and going in the right direction.
Thank you. And when do you see those being completed?
1 has been constructed and several are staked, approved, and either under construction or will be very soon, but completed this year.
Okay. And this consistent kind of a zoning helps the whole process to come together.
Yes, city's been very helpful with the builder.
Appreciate you.
Mr. Morel, you know how many Property Brothers has over there? I know they've got some properties across the street too, I believe, right?
That's right. So on Sherman Avenue, they split the 2 lots on this side into 3. Then there's one on the west side of Sherman Avenue. Those will all be pre-approved city duplexes that were designed through the city and are offered free to any builders. Additionally, these properties, all 4 on Sherman, will have accessory dwelling units in the back that were also pre-approved cottage houses. So it'll be a total of 3 units on each of these 4 lots for a total of 12. And it's a very exciting project.
Council members, any other preliminary questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the public portion. At this time, we will go to the public portion of the hearing. Members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council, beginning with members of the public in favor, limited to 5 minutes, and then going to members of the public against, limited to 5 minutes. At this time, any members of the public wishing to speak on Bill 2-25 in the chambers? Any members of the public online wishing to speak in favor of 2-25?
I do not see any members from the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor.
Any members of the public wishing to speak against 2-25 in person or online?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Okay, with that, I'll bring it back to council. Any further comments, questions? Councilmember White?
Yes, I just want to make a statement. I am extremely proud of Property Brothers. They have done a tremendous job as young developers, and they have proven that they can get the job done. And I'm proud to say that I had one of the Property Brothers as a student at IUSB.
Go IU.
Councilmember Lee?
Yes, I too want to echo what Karen White. I didn't have him as a student, but that area on Sherman Street has been an area that has been forgotten and had gone down. And to have somebody to come in with vision, and thank you to the city for having the pre-approved plans where they didn't have to pay an architect; they could just do the plans, and to go inside to the ribbon cutting and to see that quality, affordable housing is happening on that street is going to transform the area. And they've already got other houses already, the sticks are up. So I'm very proud that this is in the first district, and I will be supporting it.
Thank you, Chair. I too just want to add to the praise here. President Lee and I were at the ribbon cutting for the duplex on Sherman, and what was impressive also about this developer, the home builder, was that he invited 2 other developer colleagues, one from the Indianapolis area and one from Chicago, to come and be a part of the ribbon cutting. And so a number of us were able to meet with them, talk to them about the developments and incremental development that's happening in South Bend. And both these developers were really excited about what they were seeing in South Bend and expressed interest to come and potentially invest in our city. So really want to thank him for inviting others to be a part of this.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion.
Motion to send to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second
the motion.
We've got a motion and a second and a third.
Fourth
Clerk
and fifth.
Toronto, can you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan, President Lee,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. Bill 2-25 will go to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Now at this time, Clerk Toronto, can you please give Bill 03-25 a second reading?
Public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance and seeking a use variance for property located at 4022 Old Cleveland Road, Councilmanic District Number 1 in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you very much. Mr. Morel, can you please give the bill or share the key points of the bill with us, please? Thank you.
Oh, I did committee report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Got to give that committee.
We got to get
report.
our committee report from
Yes, we-
Dr. Davis first.
We had a good afternoon. We had a lively discussion, and like I shared with them earlier, I used to be on this board. That helped, and I'm not anymore, but I'm still glad to be here. And we came together to bring Bill 0325 to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morel, welcome.
Skip Morel, Principal Development Planner with offices on the 14th floor of this building. The site here is 4022 Old Cleveland Road. Owner is the City of South Bend Department of Redevelopment, and the request tonight is a rezoning from currently I Industrial to S2 Suburban Neighborhood 2, as well as a use variance to allow for a group residence. This is an aerial of the site and then a view of the site from the north looking south. The proposed use is a low barrier intake center. Currently on the site, a house was constructed in 1950. Otherwise, the rest of the property has been vacant, open land. For some broader context, there are some larger institutional functions like the South Bend Community Reentry Center and the South Bend Organic Resources Center to the west. Also looking to the south is a large shipping facility. The proposed low barrier intake center would offer residential spaces and other services for guests at the site. This proposed use is consistent with the South Bend City Plan Objective H5 to support existing transitional housing providers and shelters that offer a continuum of care to move people towards self-sufficiency. This rezoning and use variance comes to you from the Plan Commission with a favorable recommendation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Morel. Do we have a petitioner?
Good evening, council members. Joe Molnar, Assistant Director of Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the county city building. As Skip mentioned, this is for the proposed low barrier intake center. About 8 years ago, in 2017, the South Bend Working Group on Chronic Homelessness report was issued, which was a community-city collaboration on how best to aid and assist in the ending of homelessness in South Bend. Out of that recommendation, or out of that report, was one recommendation for a housing first strategy, including the establishment of a permanent intake center. Since that time, over the last 8 years, a number of properties have been proposed, but all have been either rejected by the community or by the city for legitimate reasons, and we've been searching for the appropriate location. The Redevelopment Commission approved the purchase of this property last year with the intention of it being the low barrier intake center. No property would be perfect for this proposed use. Other properties, like I said, have been discussed and rejected. The proposed site, which RDC purchased, mitigates many of the concerns that were brought up on the former sites I talked about. some of the concerns in the past on former sites being in or directly adjacent to a dense single-family neighborhood, on a site with environmental contamination, on a site that was not large enough for the need, and or a site that was close to a school or park. This site meets all those qualifications as superior to ones provided before, but it's also still close and adjacent to a bus line. It would be challenging, the staff believes, to find a site that fits the needs of the homeless, the operator of the facility, and the legitimate community concerns better than this site proposed before you. The site size and location both are better than all viable alternatives we have found to date and would provide the needed space for this facility. And before you is a proposed site plan with the main hall, which I'm sure supporters may talk to more, including both where the housing would be located as well as the main building where there would be a kitchen, laundry services, and clinical space, so full service support can happen on site. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Council members, Councilmember Davis.
This afternoon, there was a good explanation between low barriers and what goes on over at the Oliver Home apartments. Could you clarify that again tonight and talk about that in
Sure.
terms of the kind of programs that are going to be there? And a lot of times people have, because when we had that issue, there were safety issues that came up. Could you talk about how that's going to be different between, and there's one over in the 4th District too. So how are those two different from what you're talking about?
Yes, the Oliver Apartments and the Hope Avenue Apartments are permanent supportive housing. So essentially that is the second step to hopefully getting someone off the street and into home. It's usually after they've already been at a center like this or at the homeless shelter where they're ready to take that next step to independence. So it's more an apartment style with some services on site. This is the first. This would be an actual intake center from right off the street to able to help and assist somebody, and there would be more services provided on site here than are at Hope and Oliver.
And security issues?
Yeah, and then this would be able to handle the security as well, because the counselors and everything would be on site.
Okay. I appreciate you sharing that. And my other comment, like I shared earlier, I just still think, even though I'm very proud of the city of South Bend and Mayor Mueller for stepping up, I still think that we have to continually in our efforts to reach out to the city of Mishawaka, the county of St. Joe, the county council and the commissioners, because they've left this burden upon us by ourselves. And I think that while our shoulders are strong in South Bend, we still need some help in taking care of that. So I think that we need to continue to advocate for that.
I certainly understand that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, council members. Any preliminary questions? Councilmember Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, Chair. I asked this question in committee, but I thought it was worth re-asking because the information was important. I felt for the public. In the requested action, there are two variances. One is to allow for a group residence. The second is a development variance from required building type to no building type. Could you explain that?
Skip Morrell, Principal Development Planner. So we have a range of building types that are outlined in the zoning ordinance. For example, a duplex, a shop, a stacked flat, things of that nature. Because of the unique programming of those sites, it didn't quite fit into a specific building type. Of course, it would be held to all other development standards as they go through the permitting process, including all other zoning standards. But just on that specific item, it didn't quite fit into a building type.
Thank you, Mr. Morrell.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
So will you explain to the public, what is this intake center gonna be like? Are you gonna be able to go there and stay? Or is this intake center prepared to give you a new start so that you may be able to move out on your own? So just give us a little bit of what this intake center will be about.
That second item, how you phrased it, I think is a good summary. It's a place for people to be able to get the help they need so that they can then move on to the next step.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will go to the public hearing portion. Members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the council, beginning with members of the public in favor, with each limited to 5 minutes, and then going to members of the public against, which with each limited to 5 minutes, And the total time limit for those speaking against shall not exceed the time used by those members who spoke in favor of the bill. Each member of the public shall state his or her name and residential address. Welcome, good evening, name and address, please, and 5 minutes.
Thank you, Sheila McCarthy.
Mr. Palmer, will you keep time for us, please? Thank you, sir. We need.
Good evening, Sheila McCarthy, 911 Leland Avenue. The Executive Director of New Day Intake Center. I've worked with the homeless for 16 years in Los Angeles, in New York City, and here in South Bend. I've been very proud of the work that we've done in South Bend to come to this point, and I want to thank each of you for your work in advocating for the homeless, for saying that this needs to happen, and your assistance in finding the best possible location, which we think that this is. So this is our 5th year in Motels for Now, which is now run by the New Day Intake Center. And today, one of our very first guests at the motel, she signed her lease today. She's 24 years old. When she came to us, she was barely 20. It took multiple stays for her to find the stability to be ready for a place of her own. But today she was able to sign a lease. So want to celebrate that. She, like a plurality of our guests who are under 50, went to Riley High School. And she had been homeless since she was 14. So with these multiple stays, was able to find stability with the caring staff, with medical clinic that we offer on site, with a psychiatrist on site. All of this makes people stable, makes them well, keeps them out of the emergency room, keeps them out of jail. We have a study that shows that there's a 60% reduction in days spent in the emergency room following a visit with the street medicine clinic at the motel. This new location, we'll have speakers that will share some more about what's going on at this location. Wanted to share that it's twice as close to an ambulance at Fire Station 11 than our current location on Lincoln Way West. This is a low density build that we're proposing, single-story construction in a totally fenced-in property with an administration building and 3 residential buildings with counseling on staff and a supportive staff. So I'll turn it over now to our CFO, who will share where we are in the fundraising for this.
Welcome.
John Frickfist, 19450 Orchard Heights Drive. I'm here to speak in favor of using the proposed parcel for the New Day Intake Center. It's been my privilege to be a part of this project. It's been really eye-opening to see how since 2020, hundreds of people who have previously and historically been the most difficult to house because they struggle with severe mental illness or addiction have transitioned from life under the bridge, life downtown, life in a tent encampment to now having apartments and having stability and receiving, in some cases, ongoing care and attention from our staff as well. We have 24/7 staff there to make sure that all the needs of the guests are taken care of. But then once they leave our program, we also check up on them because, you know, many of them, like I said, are coming from very debilitating experiences of mental illness and addiction. And so in so many cases, they need more than just, more than just one thing. And so our staff accompanies them as they go along. As Dr. McCarthy mentioned, I'm going to give a brief update on fundraising. So we're grateful for that. We're thrilled about this opportunity to have a parcel of land where we can build a permanent institution for a model that we've seen really take flight and really work well over the last few years. The actual build, the total project that we're undergoing over the next couple of years will cost $18.8 million. 15.2 million of that is the actual construction cost at this point. And then we're budgeting in 2 years worth of operating costs as well, which will be the other 3.6 million. That would get us through midway through 2027 in terms of operating. Of that, we have raised $12.7 million so far. So we've raised nearly 70% of the entire project cost. And then when we're looking at the actual build process, we've divided it up into 2 phases. The first phase, which would include the administrative building where all of the services will happen, as well as one big central wing and then one men's wing. That's been projected at $14.3 million. And of that first phase, we've raised 12.2 million. So to get from here to phase 1 completion, we're at 85% of our fundraising goal. And we have complete confidence in the capacity to raise the rest of the funds to see this project through to completion. We continue to work with a lot of our local foundations, some of which have funded us already. We've raised over $1.5 million from local foundations so far, but we continue to work with our local foundations here in our community, as well as with private donors and granting agencies at the federal level, the state level, and our local community level, and have had a great deal of success in raising funds at each one of those levels. We even have grants right now that have been approved at the state level and are just getting federal approval in the millions of dollars. So we look forward to being able to see this project to its completion, and we thank you for your reviewing of the rezoning of this property. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Twyla Newbill, 1051 Portage Avenue here in South Bend. I am the on-site manager at New Day Intake Center. I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. For the last 20 years, I have worked for 3 of the area community health mental health centers, as well as 10 years with the state of Indiana. Many of the people that I worked with struggle with mental health issues, addiction, and homelessness, and all of those places that I've worked. I'm super proud of the work that we do at Motels for Now. I'd like to share a little bit about the day-to-day workings of our program. So when a person comes into our program, they complete an intake with one of our staff members. That's imperative. It has to happen for everybody that comes in to be one of our guests. We make sure that during this time we share like our policies. It familiarizes the new guests with policies in hopes of making their stay successful so that they can stay with us as long as they need to. And we make sure that it keeps everybody safe on site. A few of those policies include a 0 tolerance for violence. Another one is while people can come and go as they please, we have quiet hours. And another is that non-guests can only be on the property with a guest pass, meaning that we are looking out to see like who's on the property, if they belong there or not. And that's a way for us to make sure that we keep everybody on the property safe at all times. We have been able to provide 2 meals a day to our guests that live with us. We don't provide breakfast. We do provide coffee if you can get there fast enough to get it. And we do supplement, the lack of breakfast with access to a small on-site pantry. We're able to supply the stuff in the pantry by being members of the Food Bank of Northern Indiana. Our pantry kind of serves a dual purpose. It gives us the ability to check in with guests who might not normally seek us out. They're going to come to the pantry or they might come get coffee. Gives us an opportunity to talk with them, kind of see what they need or what's going on with them in general. And the pantry is a place where a lot of conversations begin about housing, about getting treatment, or about starting medications. I'm super excited for the opportunity to continue this work. Thank you for hearing us out, and I'm looking forward to our new facility. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Susanna Griffith. My address is 123 South Home Street, and I am a chaplain and housing support coordinator at Motels for Now. I have worked supporting our housed guests, those who have moved from the shelter into residences in the community, since August 2023. especially accompanying people as they make the huge transition from life at the shelter to life in homes all over this area. And over time doing this work, I've learned that friendship is one of the most powerful forces in the world. And I know this personally because I've needed friends myself. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm a single mom, and I'm raising my 3 daughters on my own. Without friends, I'd be alone here in South Bend. When my ex-husband tried to take my life last year, I had to flee the home that I'd had before, and my friends stepped in to help. They visited me when I was alone and scared. They helped me move houses. They repaired my new home, which is a real fixer-upper. They brought me meals. They went with me to court. Without my friends, I'd be lost. So change a few details in my story, a few random chances of luck and birth in my background, and I'd probably be on the streets too. And so it's been my joy and privilege to be a friend to our guests at Motels for Now, especially as they've found housing in the community. To me, our housing support at Motels for Now boils down to offering friendship to those who are alone. Take, for instance, my friend Johnny. Johnny is an older gentleman. He's fascinated by birdwatching and the history of African American inventors. He loves Notre Dame football. Go Irish. He has severe learning disabilities. I've gotten to know him quite well in my role as chaplain and housing support coordinator as I've gotten to visit him, helped him clean his apartment when his health issues were getting in the way of that, helped him fill out forms to keep up with his housing voucher, and experienced his trivia knowledge through countless car rides around South Bend. He faithfully pays his rent on the first of every month. But last November, Johnny was scared and confused and devastated when he got a 10-day notice pinned to his door. And he couldn't imagine what had gone wrong when he'd been so consistent in paying his rent. So he came to us, those of us on staff at Motels for Now who are privileged to be his friends. And we figured out from the landlord that Johnny was behind on rent, but not by much, just by $263. And what had happened was his rent had been raised last May, and his landlords had notified him in writing about these changes. But Johnny can't really read, and so his rent increase had gone unnoticed. Just $263 could have cost him his housing, his health, his safety, and geez, maybe even his life this cold winter. That $263 is a lot less than I spend on groceries in a month for my family. Johnny needed just a little bit more friendship to get back on track. Friends who could read and liaise with his landlord for him and explain how this confusion had occurred. And in the end, Johnny paid most of that $263 himself. We chipped in about $50 to help with late fees. And when I let Johnny know that his housing was safe again, he told me with tears in his eyes, thank you. I am so relieved. Friendship kept Johnny in a safe and warm apartment. And we have offered friendship time and time again to our housed guests at Motels for Now. But there is so much more work that we want to do. We want to give everybody the dignity and safety of a place to call home. We want to bring the healing that comes with housing. And the New Day Intake Center will help us with all those things. So please consider helping us in making our new facility a reality and be part of this life-changing movement of friendship.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Go, and I live at 921 Cottage Grove, South Bend, Indiana. And I'm sorry I didn't wear yellow. I don't really look good in yellow. So I'm speaking in favor of the New Day Intake Center at its proposed site, both as a board member of the New Day Intake Center and as a mother of a junior Irish soccer player, because the new site is very close to the junior Irish soccer fields. My son has been a member of the Junior Irish Soccer Club for a number of years. And recently we met with the director of coaching for the Junior Irish soccer team. I've actually met with him twice, but I met with him once by myself, but also once with Sheila and with Susanna to talk about the program. We were able to quell his concerns about the New Day Intake Center, mostly by explaining the program, and most importantly, by explaining that residents of the New Day Intake Center are people who are known to the center, that most of them, in fact, all of them have been on waiting lists, and that the waiting list at this point is more than a year long. And so that these are people who are not walking in off the street, that they are people that have been at Our Lady of the Road or have been working with the New Day Center for one time. We are very supportive of this. I am very supportive of this. My son is very supportive of this. We're supportive of this because we believe that no person should be without a home, but also because my son knows that his aunt, one that he never met, was herself homeless before she took her own life in 2003, and that his own father has been homeless within the past few years. And in fact, within the past few years, we would pick up his dad from Hope Ministries and bring him to the soccer field so he could watch him at the soccer games. Of course, people there didn't know that. He would tuck his tag in, so they didn't see that, because we wanted the people to feel like he was just another soccer dad, and we didn't want him to feel embarrassed. But, that's part of our story too. And we think it's important that all people have that dignity to have a place called home. So if there's any soccer parents out there who are worried for their family's safety, I would invite them to reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to talk to them and allay their fears. I think that this is people who don't have knowledge, sometimes that can lead to mistrust and rumors. And I'm more than happy to talk to them, because I think that we can tell the truth and we can help them understand that this is a real solution to a problem, and that we can all work together. Thank you.
My name is Becky Zarnicki, and I've lived in South Bend since 2009 and own a home downtown at 805 Arch Avenue, South Bend 46601. I'm here to speak in support of New Day Intake Center. I'm also the secretary of the board of directors. As a resident downtown who has seen the tent cities come and go and come and go for over a decade, and people sleeping all over the city, and has seen the benefit of what happened when Motels for Now started serving these individuals in 2020, I want to clearly share my unwavering support of the work of New Day Intake Center's building at the Old Cleveland Road location. The new building will be a gift to the individuals it serves, no doubt, as well as to downtown businesses and community members like myself. This is a very necessary work that really must happen for our community. And I'm deeply grateful for the staff of New Day Intake Center for actually making it happen. Some folks have asked about the transportation situation for the Old Cleveland Road location, so I will comment on that briefly. Transpo number 16 Blackthorn Express runs on Old Cleveland Road 4 times a day on weekdays and not on Saturdays and Sundays. Currently, Motels for Now has a driver and 2 vans to take guests to appointments, and New Day Intake Center will continue that practice. They also have the possibility of adding more transportation support if it is needed. Some have also expressed concern about the lack of sidewalks along the route from the New Day site to the shopping area on Portage. It would be possible for the city to add sidewalks in that area, and we can certainly advocate for this. Kenneth Lee is the council person representing that district, so we can discuss this with you directly whenever you would like. We at New Day Intake Center take the issue of transportation very seriously. It's of course important for all people, myself included. I'm a mom in a minivan. I know that it's really important and we all know that, and we will not let this be a barrier to the new location being a success. So thank you for your time. I hope you will join me and many people here in supporting the work of New Day Intake Center by rezoning the necessary land.
Good evening. My name is Katie Elliott. I'm the Executive Director of St. Margaret's House, across the street, 117 North Lafayette Boulevard, South Bend 46601. And I'm here as a representative of St. Margaret's House to speak in favor of the New Day Intake Center at this location. We serve many of the same women and collaborate daily with our colleagues or partners at the motel. And I'll tell anybody who will listen to me that the folks who run the motel and Our Lady of the Road are among the most committed human beings and Christians we have in this community. And I'm just here tonight to speak in favor of them and their incredible commitment and friendship with the poor. And I have zero doubt in their capacity and in their desire to execute their plans here at the intake center. We have, as we all know, a dire need for this facility in our community, and I'm really excited about this new location and the possibility that this could happen. And I just hope and pray because our most vulnerable residents need this so badly that there will not be unnecessary obstacles put in the path of this facility coming to fruition. Last week in the cold was a really, really hard week for those who don't have a place to sleep. And I can personally testify to how many hours the staff at the motel and Our Lady of Road put into finding a warm place for those who don't have it over those nights. They work tirelessly and just incredible human beings. And I can't support them enough as a peer in ministry. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Kate Callahan. I am a family medicine physician here in town. I'm an associate director at Memorial Hospital's Family Medicine Residency Program. I'm also an adjunct professor at Notre Dame in the Center for Compassionate Care and Medicine. I have the privilege of directing Street Medicine South Bend, which is our outreach to individuals experiencing homelessness, but has happened exclusively at Motels for Now over the last a little over 2 years that we've been running that because they've been such tremendous partners to us. We've been running this outreach since December 8th of 2022. And during that time, every other week, we send a team of folks out to the motel to care for any patients who have medical needs. We've seen over 100 guests, over 130 guests as of 2 weeks ago. And this is in over 300 encounters with patients. And during that time, I can tell you that so many of those encounters would not have been possible without the staff at Motels for Now. They have built tremendous amounts of trust with the guests there. And it is because of that trust that they're willing to come and talk with our team, because many of these individuals have been horribly marginalized by the medical community, by medical professionals. And in an effort to try to build that trust, we so often need a bridge back. And the staff provides that for us. As Dr. McCarthy commented on in her initial comments, we're currently running a study with the Lucy Institute at Notre Dame to assess the impact of this initiative. And as she named, we've demonstrated that there's been a decrease in days of hospitalization by 60% from 306 days in the year prior to first encounter with us to 118 for the first 49 individuals that we saw in our outreach. And in terms of emergency department visits, from 152 in the first year prior to our first encounter with them to just 96 in the year following our first encounter. So that's on average one less emergency department visit per individual we saw. As we think about expanding these efforts, we've of course looked at how we can take this work beyond motels for now. And I'll tell you that it's been quite difficult for us because the amount of comprehensive and wraparound support that their staff provides is difficult to replicate. And so many times with individuals, again, as was commented by Dr. McCarthy in her opening comments, so many individuals need additional encounters to be able to make lifestyle change, to be able to make medication-related change, to be able to move the needle on chronic disease. And I can tell you one specific story. This gentleman has given me permission to tell you his story. He said, "You all saved my life. You can tell my story to whoever you want." But this gentleman came and saw us and was having chest pain, difficulty breathing. And of course, we wanted to send him to the emergency department right away that evening. But he just met us. And so he said, "I'm not doing that. I'll be fine. I'm going back to my room." And we said, "Well, we really don't want you to do that. But even if you won't go to the emergency department on our initiative tonight," we knew that he had established a relationship with HealthLink, with a nurse practitioner at HealthLink. And we said, "Will you at least go see your nurse practitioner tomorrow?" And he said, "Okay, fine. I'll go see her. I have a longstanding relationship with her." As was commented, the staff often helps with transportation. They transported him to that appointment at HealthLink. This nurse practitioner took one look at him and said, "You need to be in the emergency department. Go there right now." And he listened because he had a relationship with this woman. And in the emergency department, they diagnosed him with coronary artery disease, and this man ended up with an open heart surgery with 4 vessels bypassed within 24 hours of his presentation to the emergency department. And I can say with clarity that he would have died had he not sought out medical care. And this is just one story of many. And again, like, my team really has had success in this context because of the staff. Were it not for this staff, that gentleman would have died. It wasn't me that saved his life. It was them. And so as we think about opportunities to accompany the most marginalized individuals in our community, I could give you all sorts of statistics around why the unsheltered are some of our most marginalized and most vulnerable neighbors. But I don't trust that population to anyone more than I do the staff. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Good evening. My name is Eddie Bradley. I am a board member for New Day Intake Center. I reside at 17815 Woodthrush Lane in South Bend. I wanted to take a moment to speak about one of the, my understanding, one of the criteria for consideration and approval, which is public health safety, community standards, and general welfare. The proposed New Day Intake Center will not only avoid harming the public and safety, but will actively improve it. As I think we all know, homelessness is a public health crisis, not just in South Bend, but across the country, really. And our program directly addresses this by providing housing, as well as important supportive services to those facing physical and mental health issues, food insecurity, addiction, and transportation barriers. All these things have been previously mentioned by some of the previous speakers. But through those efforts, we're making our community healthier and safer by helping to rehabilitate people and transition them into permanent housing, which creates stability, reduces crime, and enhances community well-being. New Day upholds high standards by maintaining strict behavioral expectations for the guests and enforcing a zero-tolerance policy for violence. A secure campus with fencing, cameras, and 24/7 staffing ensures safety of guests, staff, and the surrounding community. We also work closely with the South Bend Police Department to proactively address any safety concerns and mitigate crime risk. Data from the current campus, Motels for Now, shows a significant decline in calls for service since the program began, demonstrating the positive impact on public safety. We're happy to share this data along with other data regarding the services with anyone interested in learning more. In summary, New Day's proposed use, as requested here, aligns with and actively supports the community's health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Finally, I want to take a moment to thank those individuals and organizations involved in what is often mostly a thankless task and very difficult work. Specifically, Our Lady of the Road, Motels for Now, Sheila, Margie, Jonathan, many individuals, as you've heard from, as well as the city of South Bend, for being supportive of what is invariably something has to happen. And I applaud the city and of course the efforts of everyone here with New Day. You've all contributed in very direct efforts to assist those most vulnerable and in need of assistance. Your tireless commitment is really remarkable and inspiring, and it should be acknowledged, especially in light of the cold last week. So in closing, as a board member and a lifelong South Bend resident, I respectfully ask that the council demonstrates its support as well for this very important rezoning request by granting its approval. Thank you. And one final note, unrelated, but the Blackthorn Express, I'm told, actually runs 6 times a week, not 4 times a week. Times a day, not week. So that's 42 times a week. Thank you very much.
My name is Catherine Osborne. I live at 738 Leland Avenue in South Bend. I have no information about the buses at all. I have worked with New Day in various capacities for about 1.5 years now, and before that, as a volunteer with Our Lady of the Road for a long time. Working at New Day is an incredible experience. I could tell you a lot about what I learned about homelessness, about trauma. We would be here a lot longer than 5 minutes, so I'll spare you now, although I'm happy to, catch you up later if you want. What I wanted to do instead was to say something about what I learned about myself working there. Some of the people who are involved in this project are actual saints, Sheila, Margie, John. I'm not really, I'm more aspiring, and I felt like I took a real step forward, though, in my aspirations by working there, by learning this really specific thing. New Day Intake Center Motels for Now is an organization that has an active lean towards saying yes to people. And our guests who are, really, by the time you're staying at Motels for Now, you are really badly off. And nobody has said anything but no to you for a really long time, right? No, you can't live here. No, we can't treat you. No, we can't help you unless this, that, or the other thing that seem insurmountably impossible. No, you have to leave this place. No, you can't sleep here. Just no, 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 no. It's kind of all people hear that and get a job, right? And Motels for Now's philosophy has been instead to say, if saying no, change your behavior, get a job, whatever was going to work, it would have worked already. So let's try something else, right? So it's not only kind of bleeding heart sympathy, it's also that saying yes to people that have not been said yes to in a long time really works. It doesn't work instantly necessarily. It's not a miracle. It takes a while to build. It doesn't fix every problem. But it fixes a lot more than you might think, especially when people hang in and say yes over and over again, even when our guests are feeling like saying no. It was sort of an amazing thing. When you do this kind of work, people are always like, stories start coming out of the woodworks. Like my hairdresser and the guy who fixes my car, both told me about relatives that had schizophrenia. And in one case, it was the son of this woman, and he was over 18, and there was nothing. She said, "Are there any resources?" I was like, "There's nothing." And now I can say, yeah, he can get on the list and he can go to New Day, and he doesn't have to be treated in order to be inside, Being able to say yes to people is an incredible privilege. And that's really what I learned working there. When your whole life, you're kind of socialized to say no, there are all these problems, in the way of doing this. And suddenly you have this organization that's saying, no, yeah, yes, let's try to move ahead. And then you as a staff member get to say it to individual people. Yeah, I can help you with that. Yeah, let's try that. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this other thing. Your shoulders go back, your chest, like you start being able to breathe better. It just feels so much better than saying no all the time. So what I wanted to do tonight was to invite you to join me in feeling how good it feels to say yes to something like this. It feels good to say, okay, there are problems, there are issues, like we can work on those later, but fundamentally, let's say yes to this project. And let's move it forward and let's keep it moving and let's, breathe more deeply, knowing that we can make a different choice other than only saying no all the time. It's really great. Thanks.
Thank you. Any members of the public online wishing to speak in favor of Bill 3-25?
I do not see any members online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
That will go to members of the public wishing to speak against. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition of Bill 3-25? Welcome.
Logan Foster, 1138 College Street. Initially, I had no planned opposition to speak against this bill tonight. But what brought me here was when a lot of the members that did speak tonight were either board members or employees of the organization. So I have a procedural issue first. Shouldn't that testimony have been included as part of the petitioners? Instead, what we did is we sat through petitioners who are going to be recipients of this.
Go ahead.
Excuse, this is my time, correct?
Correct.
We sat through and we listened to the recipients, the board members, the employees give testimony when they could have included that testimony during the committee hearings in the previous, when you guys first presented this. Second, what we heard today was, look at what we have done. We've given out all these meals. We have given out this and that. So what I'd like to present is in 2023, again, I was not prepared to present this, but in 2023, the city of South Bend has given this organization at least $2.4 million, including money that they've given for meals. Like if I'm looking at payments, $8,600 for meals, $8,600. So we've given monthly stipends or a payment for $52,000 marked Motels for Now meals. Or we're paying for, they're talking about the psychiatric care and what this organization is doing. The city of South Bend is paying for that care. This organization is not doing it. The taxpayers are doing it, and they're funneling money to this organization, $2.4 million worth of doing that. In additionally to that, this organization filed through Indiana Gateway, if you look this up, they registered themselves as a church. So are we going to keep doing favors for religious organizations? And what you heard one of the people today said they're one of the best Christian whatever people. And are we going to take that into our consideration when if we're going to give these organizations favors for zoning in $2.4 million, do we have to give everybody that kind of help? So consider that. The petitioners in front of you brought up how they're a church and they're good people in that standing. So we heard a lot of what we're doing, but it's not what we're doing. It's what we as the community, the taxpayers are doing. Because without that $2.4 million, where would they be? Also, when we go move this over here to Old Cleveland Road, they're going to need another $2.4 million or another $4 million or $6 million. Where will they be? They have not shown anywhere that they can do this on their own. So with that, I ask you to vote no.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to speak in opposition?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Thank you. We'll bring it back. Petitioner or staff, any rebuttal? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for questions or debate, comments. Councilmember McBride.
Thank you. I would just like to say thank you to Our Lady of the Road, Motels for Now, and the New Day Intake Center, and everyone who is involved in this project. I've been privileged to be appointed back in 2017 to be on the homelessness working group. And I am excited. I know the challenges and struggles of everyone saying, not in my backyard. I know it's a difficult road being a part of St. Joe County Community Corrections at its current location out on Lathrop. There was the challenges back in 2010 also about not having it at that location. And I think that you all have done a great job. It's about building relationships and relationship with people and neighbors. And you guys have been great neighbors. You guys have been great providers and a great support system for our most vulnerable communities. So a lot like corrections, a lot of people that come out of jail and prison have a hard time. And I know you see a lot of them coming into the new intake center. So I am grateful that there's an opportunity to finally not see Tent City continuing to come back and forth in our different various locations. I am grateful that we have found a sound location, and I can attest to the transportation. At the time on Lathrop, there was not any transportation, but we did petition, and Transpo was graciously enough to partner to provide the transportation out there to community corrections and now to the intake center over there. So there are resources available as far as Meijer, pharmacy, Aldi, being on the bus line. I think not the South Bend Clinic, but there's a clinic over there off of Portage. So there are a lot of things that are available to the community. And if we not forget, I remember the Juvenile Justice Center used to be tucked out there. And when they closed down, that's when South Bend Reentry moved in and have been over there for over 20 years. And now Community Corrections is on the other side on Lathrop. So just having an opportunity to serve the most vulnerable population is great. And I am excited for today and a lot of things in the future to come. I will also support what Dr. Davis said. It's not just a South Bend problem. We also need to petition Mishawaka, Elkhart, other locations that surround this area. I know we are attractive because of the Center for the Homeless and Hope Mission, who also does a phenomenal job, but we also need to have other partners at the table as well. So congratulations, and I hope that my colleagues do support this as well.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Thank you, Councilman Troy Warner. You know, in Roger Parent's book, Getting Things Done, Stories of Leadership from South Bend, and he talks about sometimes you just have to get things done. You do the best you can. You take in the information and you make the best decision you can. And then you tweak it as you go. And I feel that you've done that. No, it's not perfect, but we must not get paralyzed or have paralysis in the analysis. And so continue to tell your stories because the stories hit you. And you're telling us it's really complicated to help people that are struggling with mental illness and addictions. It's not easy. So I commend you for doing what is not easy. And as I tell students, there's a great payoff in doing the things that are hard. So I support this, and we will just continue moving forward, getting things done.
Thank you. I appreciate the yellow tonight. When I think about yellow, I use yellow a lot in my life, a lot of things. And one of the teachers back home had a big yellow sign, and I've been using that sign for 30 plus years. Because yellow to me is a light. It's a bright light. And when you're working with people who are dealing with housing insecurity issues, I'm a social worker, and my projects were dealing with that. And after last year's the Supreme Court's decision where they give cities the right to dismantle any kind of tent cities all over the country. and with all the other things going on in the country right now, it's a bright light to have somebody to come in here in 2025 and fight for our people who are dealing with housing insecurity in a positive way. So I'm very happy. I'm very pleased. I'm very gracious. If I had known y'all were gonna wear yellow, I had a yellow bow tie I could have put with it today. You know, I was ready to roll with that, but you know, I did blue, so I'm okay. But I really appreciate the fight because I see it every day as a social worker. It's amazing this past few days, and then really right before end of December and early January, we had people donate coats to us over at Dickinson. We were the closest school, and when you first started, before they had children, the children were not there. They came to my school, and still now, when you ask people who needs a coat, it was minus 30 degrees wind chill last week, and there was a lot of our kids who didn't have coats. And, you know, they were coming to the office and we were giving them coats and we were giving coats and they said, thank you, thank you. 5th graders, 6th graders who didn't have coats. And I've been at this for a while. Now I'm all grayed up, but putting those coats on those kids, I mean, I tell you, it still brings tears to your eyes. Knowing that they can get back in that bus or they can walk home and they're not cold. So it's something that's pretty deep, is close. Tonight, you're the voice for those who cannot be here. You're the voice for those who need warmth. You're the voice for those who need a second or third, maybe even 5th chances of life. Because they've been kicked out of so many places, and you're that voice. So I'm grateful and honored to be able to vote yes tonight. Like she said, we're gonna vote yes, and people need to have a yes tonight with yellow. Thanks.
Councilman Lee.
Yes, I just would like to say that thank you for the work that you have done. It has not been easy, and it's not sometimes probably been thankless, but I really want you all to understand that it's important that all parts of town have to help deal with the homeless population. Like they said, Oliver Apartments and Hope Avenue on the east side. Center for the Homeless and Hope Rescue Mission. And then people don't even know that there's scattered sites throughout the city that are helping to house the homeless. So today, I want you also to know that we do expect excellence at this place that's going to be resurrected. Motels for Now was something that you guys just kind of had to try to deal with what was there to be able to help. And so building a facility and having the people on staff and having everything available to help individuals not stay somewhere forever, but to actually get a chance to stand up on their feet when they don't have to worry about shelter and they don't have to worry about food. Then they can start dealing with the medical issues and the mental issues that they have. So thank you for the work that you're doing. And again, the city listened when people didn't want it on Bendix. They listened and they looked and we searched to find a better location. And we're just hoping that this is going to be the start of something. We don't want to make this a place where people feel like this is where I'm going to stay forever, but we want it to be a place where people can get the help that they need. Because we who are stable have a responsibility to do for others that can't do for themselves and help them to be able to establish themselves. So I just wanted to say thank you for the work and thank you for what you've done. Thank you.
Councilmember Thomas Martin.
Thank you, Chair. I think everything has already been said, but I do want to say that we certainly wouldn't be here today without public and private partnerships, public and private dollars. Everyone in this room and beyond, spending countless hours listening in neighborhood meetings, in public meetings, in small group meetings, trying to get to solutions, having heard the concerns of our residents, and trying to meet the needs of our most vulnerable. So I thank everyone here, the staff at the New Day Center, our mayor and administration, and the city staff who has worked incredibly hard to find an alternative location. And our council members, we appropriated dollars from our American Rescue Plan to support homeless services in our city, and I'm proud of that. Thank you.
Seeing no one else,
One thing about being the last person.
Councilmember White, you gonna brave
Thank you
it?
so much. Being the last person, it's, everything has been said, but it's, a statement was made about the petitioner, that those who spoke in favor were the petitioners. And again, this is coming, if I'm not mistaken, from, the city, if I'm not mistaken. What we heard was the individuals that were in support, which is their right to come before us. But I want to make sure we get that clarified. And, I like the one person said it's time to say yes, because that yes really carries, so many times individuals have heard the word no, 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 we can't do that. Or, we can't spend money on you kind of, individuals. I think it's time for us to say yes. A lot of time has been put into looking at the issue of the homelessness within our community, a lot of meetings, funds have been identified, as Councilwoman Rachel Tormos Morgan has stated. And so it's time to move forward. And I think it's time for us to all come together. We're not going to agree on everything that occurs, but it does not make what we're moving forward bad. That's how I see it. So
Thank you. It's funny how she always says, when I go last, there's nothing left, but she always finds something good to say. With that, anybody got a motion?
I'd like a motion to bring this to the full council with a favorable recommendation, and we all say yes.
Second.
Second. Yes.
A motion and a second for a favorable. Clerk Toronto, please do a roll call.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Yes. Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
I say yes.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Yes, we can. Yes.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you. 325 will go forward with favorable recommendation. Clerk Toronto, will you please give Bill 4-25 a second reading?
Public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, adopting an investment policy for the City of South Bend for calendar year 2025 through 2028.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Nisgowsky, is there a committee report?
Yes, there is, Chair. Bill 4-25 was heard in Personal and Finance this afternoon, and it was given a favorable recommendation to the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Mr. Willis. Will you state your name and address and give us the key points of the bill before us? Thank you.
Kyle Willis, City Controller, offices on the 12th floor. Bill 4-25 authorizes investment policy for the next 4 years. This is also allowed by state statute. I think in previous years, I think the investment policy was brought forward each year, but with state policy allows us to have 4 years. But there's also a part of this authorization for investments of certificates of deposit that will come back. There's only authorized for 1 year, so we will bring that back next year. Just given that 1 year authorization for that. Also, with this investment policy, this allows the city, our portfolio to be invested in various investment vehicles, treasury bills, treasury notes, money market funds, and also restricts any of these investments comprising over 25% of the portfolio.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. So our investment policy follows state law.
Correct.
And state law says we can only basically invest in certificates of deposit, treasury bills or treasury notes or savings accounts. Is that
correct?
The short of it. All right. Thank you. Council members, any further questions? Seeing none, we're going to open it up to the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak on 0425? We'll start with those wishing to speak in favor. Any members in person or online?
I do not see any members of the public in
Seeing none,
person.
we'll go to those against. Any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak against 0425?
I do not see any individuals from the public or online wishing to speak in favor or in opposition.
Bring it back to the council. Any comments or a motion?
I'll make a motion to send 4-25 to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, can you please do a roll call for us?
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
9 ayes.
0425 will also go forward with favorable recommendation. I'll now entertain a motion to rise from the committee of the whole.
So move.
Second.
It has been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Committee of the whole is now adjourned. Councilman Lee,
Yes.
may I interrupt?
Yes.
So earlier, we were informed by legal counsel that regarding the annexations, State Law 36-4-3 requires the adoption of the resolution setting the fiscal policy prior to the passage of the annexation ordinance. Right now, they're reversed in order. Thus, council needs to pass Resolution 2504 prior to doing third readings and passage of the ordinance. So that said, at this time, in accordance with our council procedures, I make a motion to suspend the rules and hear Resolution 2405 prior to the start of third readings, and then revert back to third readings after council has taken action on Resolution 2405.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, we are suspending the rules to vote on
504.
Resolution 2505.
I was just about to.
05.
504. Thank you.
Yes, 2504 and not
2504.
2405.
2504.
2504.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So, will we have a presentation?
Resolution 2504 first.
Okay, yes, please read the bill.
Thank you.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, adopting a written fiscal plan and establishing a policy for the provision of services to an annexation area in the Century Township, Lafayette Falls Extension annexation area.
Right. Is there a report?
Yes, this bill was heard in Community Investments this afternoon and comes forward with a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
All right, petitioner, I ask that you state your name and address for the record and give us key points from this presentation.
Sure. Skip Morrell, Principal Development Planner with offices on the 14th floor of this building. We spoke about this annexation at the last council meeting. Again, this is looking specifically at the adoption of the fiscal plan. So looking at how the city will provide services to this area if it is annexed into the city. As a refresher, an annexation has been requested by the property owner, Lafayette Falls LLC, for roughly 45 acres south of Lafayette Falls Phase 1 annexation area and west of US 31 highway. The area meets the state law contiguity requirement. You can see it there. It's in the light blue, so it's at the far south side of the city. The annexation area is currently vacant. Development is proposed for 100 to 110 housing units, primarily in the form of single unit dwellings. No capital improvements are planned by the city now as part of the annexation. Water and sewer are both available from streets to the north. The Lafayette Falls annexation area will be added to the Common Council's 5th District, served by Police Beat 16, Fire Station 10, Emergency Medic 10, and Neighborhood and Services Enforcement Area 2. It's currently zoned R single family in the county, so it would be incorporated into the city with a like-for-like zoning, so it would be S1, Suburban Neighborhood 1 in the city. Happy to answer any questions.
Council members, are there any questions? We talked about this in committee. All right, at this time, I'll now go to the public portion. Is that right? Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of Bill 2504?
Good evening. My name is Richard Nussbaum. I'm my offices are at 210 South Michigan, Suite 500 in downtown South Bend. I represent the developer, Lafayette Falls LLC, Mr. Bill Loudon. We've spoken to the council a number of times on this issue, so I'm not going to go to the merits. I would ask for your support for the adoption of this resolution, which deals with the fiscal plan. The city did a very thorough job in putting together this fiscal plan, and we appreciate the effort and ask for your support.
Thank you. Is there anyone online that would like to speak in favor?
I do not see any members of the public online or in person wishing to speak in favor.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
I do not see any individuals in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Council members, do you have any questions or statements? If not, I will now entertain a motion.
President, just one statement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, President. Fifth District Council Representative, and we're very happy to have this increased residents and looking forward to seeing the finalization of the project.
All right. Yes.
Thank you. I just would like to echo, it's good to see something coming to the fifth district. Haven't seen a development or any activity in a long time. So looking excited, very excited to see the movement in the fifth district.
Anyone else? If not, I will now entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt 2504.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember McBride,
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan. President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
All right.
At this time, I would now make a motion to revert to the normal course of business of the agenda. Thank
So
you.
move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? The full council is now back in session, and this is the portion of the meeting where bills are given a third reading and action is taken regarding the bills that were heard in the committee of the whole. Clerk Toronto, would you please I'd like to make a motion to accept substitute Bill 63-24, and it's just the third reading only.
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? I don't have to do roll call, do I? All right. Motion passes. All right. Clerk Toronto, please give substitute Bill 63-24 a third reading.
Third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, annexing to and bringing within the city limits of South Bend, Indiana, certain land located in Century Township, contiguous therewith, Councilmanic District Number 5, for land south of Lafayette Falls, Phase 1, annexation area, and west of South US 31 Highway, South Bend, Indiana.
All right, Councilman Warner, is there a recommendation from the committee of the whole?
6324 comes forward with favorable recommendation.
All right. Are there any council members? Are we doing? Is there a presenter?
Let's do that.
Oh, third reading. That's right. All right. So now I will entertain a motion regarding substitute bill 63-24.
So moved.
Both will move a passage.
For passage.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
All right. Substitute bill 63-24 has now passed. Clerk Toronto, would you give Bill 01-25 a third reading?
Third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 1408 Elwood Avenue, Councilmanic District Number 2, in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
Councilman Warner, is there a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole?
The bill comes out of Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
All right, I will now entertain a motion regarding Bill 01-25.
Move for passage.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan. President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Bill 01-25 has passed. Clerk Toronto, would you please give Bill 02-25 a third reading?
Third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 616 Sherman Avenue, Councilmanic District Number 1, in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
Councilor Warner, is there a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole?
Yeah, the zoning ordinance for Sherman Avenue comes forward with a favorable recommendation.
All right, I will now entertain a motion regarding Bill 02-25.
Move for passage.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember McBride. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner. Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
All right, Bill 02-25 has passed. Clerk Toronto, please give Bill 03-25 a third reading.
Third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance and seeking a use variance for property located at 4022 Old Cleveland Road, Councilmanic District Number 1, in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
Councilor Warner, is there a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole?
Committee of the Whole sends this bill forward with a favorable recommendation.
All right, I will now,
Yeses.
yes, after a few yeses, I will now entertain a motion regarding the bill.
I move for passage.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dr. Davis. Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Bill 03-25 has passed. All right, Clerk Toronto, please give Bill 04-25 a third reading.
Third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, adopting an investment policy for the City of South Bend for calendar year 2025 through 2028.
Councilor Warner, is there a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole?
Bill comes out of Committee of the Whole with a favorable recommendation.
I will now entertain a motion regarding Bill 04-25.
Move for passage. Aye. Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember White. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner. Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
All right, Bill 04-25 has passed. Resolutions. This is the portion of the council's meeting where the Common Council hears bills filed as proposed resolution. The title of each proposed resolution is read by the city clerk. A report from the committee chairperson of the standing committee to which the bill was referred to for an advisory review and recommendations is then given. During the public portion on each proposed resolutions, members of the public are invited to address the council. We ask that you please give your name, address, and comments on the bill. If you have any questions, they will be addressed by the presenter during their rebuttal. Each member of the public is limited to 5 minutes, with those speaking in favor going first, followed by those in opposition, then a 5-minute rebuttal for the presenter. Clerk Toronto, could you please give Resolution 2504 a reading?
2505.
Oh, we did it already? Okay, I'm sorry. 2505, sorry.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, to appoint the Board of Public Works and its designees and its agent for overseeing the guaranteed energy savings contract for improvements for the South Bend Fire Department and venue, parks, and arts.
Is there a committee report?
Yes, there is. This was heard in Public Works and Property Vacation this afternoon. It was given a favorable recommendation to the full council.
Is there a petitioner? And so you state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Council. Michael Schmidt, Assistant City Attorney for the City of South Bend, with offices up on the 12th floor. Just asking for council support of this resolution, which will essentially authorize the city's Board of Public Works and an internal team to go out there and seek a guaranteed energy savings company to analyze and assess the city's needs, in particular at Martin Luther King Center and the city fire, central fire station. It's under a unique statutory framework where, because it's not associated with the city utility, that we do need council's approval to go forward with this. The process is essentially RFPs are solicited. It becomes an interview process. There's a scoring matrix, and then there's a negotiation with the highest scoring respondent to then go negotiate a kind of a final contract. At that point, the final contract will come back to council with a recommendation from the Board of Public Works asking for your support and affirmation, execution of said contract.
All right, we talked about this in committee. Council members, are there any questions? If not, we'll go to the public hearing. Clerk Toronto, is anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor or online?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
I do not see any members from the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
At this time, I will entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion, or I will make a motion to send 2505 for passage.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner. Councilmember Niskoski.
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember White. Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan. President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
All right, Resolution 2506 is passed.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Clerk Toronto, would you please give Resolution 2507 a read?
2506.
2506, I'm sorry. 2506.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the City of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 635 South Main Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46601, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 2-year vacant building tax abatement for Studebaker Admin QOZB LLC.
All right, is there a committee report?
Yes, President Lee, this 2-year vacant building tax abatement comes forward with a favorable recommendation.
All right. Petitioner, we see that you're here. We ask that you give your name and address and key points from the bill or from the resolution.
Thank you, Council. Joe Molnar, Assistant Director, Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. I know you saw this all in committee, so I'll try to be a little briefer. Before you is a 2-year vacant building tax abatement for the former Studebaker Administration Building located at 635 South Main Street. Here is an image of the building looking from Main Street. And here is an aerial of the building looking north. On the top left, you can see Union Station and Four Winds Field. The building straddles the difference between Main Street and Lafayette Street. Here's one more location downtown. Studebaker Admin QOZB recently purchased the building. They actually just closed in the last few weeks, and their intention is to stabilize the building to ensure its future for the long term. The building is 149,000 square feet and was constructed to be the headquarters of the Studebaker auto manufacturer in the early 20th century. It was also the site of the South Bend Community School Corporation headquarters for a number of years as well, but it has been vacant for the past 2 decades. The primary objective of this development is to stabilize the deteriorating building. It has numerous leaks in the roof as well as many broken out windows. The proposed development would stabilize the structure both structurally as well as do some environmental remediation. The developer has partnered with the Redevelopment Commission with help on the environmental remediation side. Total investment to do that stabilization about $920,000. This is solely a vacant building tax abatement, and these were designed and approved by the council for purposes like this, where buildings that are especially of historic value are under threat to be demolished if nothing is done with them. Give them this aid to help channel that money back into the building to ensure that it does not have to be torn down, which is the direction this building is going in if nothing is done. The current estimated taxes over the 2-year abatement period would be about 30,000, and this proposal would abate about 20,000 of those, remaining about 10,000 left to be paid. Happy to answer any questions that you have, and Kevin Smith, representative of the ownership, is here as well if you have any questions for him.
Mr. Smith, if you'd like to come and make some statements, we'd appreciate it.
My name is Kevin Smith, 326 West South Street. And I just want to show my appreciation that public-private partnership is alive and well. And I've been wanting to do something with this building for a while. And this is yet another step in the right direction. It's a fantastic building. The objective is I've been working with Indiana Landmarks, and I've have quite a bit of experience with the Union Station development, et cetera. So I'm looking forward to knocking down the impediments that preclude it from being developed. And we're looking forward to working with the city to make it I want it to be a southern gateway to the community. So kind of my last hurrah, by the way. So just saying, any questions that I could help clarify or?
Council members, do you have any questions? We talked about a lot of this in committee, so we'll now go to public hearing. Clerk Toronto, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Is there anyone looking to speak in opposition?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Well, at this time, the public hearing on Resolution 2506 is now closed. I will now entertain a motion.
Before motion, I'm just gonna just thank Mr. Smith again. I'm glad Mr. Smith was able to find a place and to be able to do something with this building. It's not only something for him, but I think it's really helping us to revitalize the whole city. And when you take one spark, it helps to lead to other sparks and build up our city. And I think we are really doing a good job on that. So, and thank you for everything you've done with the housing. Appreciate you.
Councilwoman Ophelia Gooden Rogers.
Yes, I don't know if I'm directing this question to the right person, but maybe you can help me. How many more historic buildings do we have? And do we have anyone watching them so they don't get in this kind of condition to where we got to do this type of repair?
No, that's a great question, and we have a historic preservation commission that monitors the historic landmarks in the city of South Bend. The staff for them is in the Department of Community Investment. They can get you numbers on how many. I can get that to you tomorrow. However, I would state it is, you know, it is very difficult when it's a private owner that owns one of these, you know, historic landmarks and doesn't want to put investment into them. There's limited options for the city to pressure them to do so. So that's why it's so important when we can get a good partnership to move forward, like we saw at the last meeting with the Center City building downtown and this building. I'm trying to get the right ownership in place where the city can help move these buildings because, you know, they're one of a kind, and once they're gone, you know, we don't build them like that anymore. So.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a comment.
Yes.
I would like to just thank the city and also Mr. Smith. I know you have been very persistent and working tirelessly. And I remember when I first got on council, meeting with you and talking about wanting this type of development. So I am also, tonight is a great night for a lot of great things continuing to move along in our city. And I am glad that you are one of our partners. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, I will now entertain a motion.
Motion for adoption?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Councilmember Bolden Simpson. Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee. 9 ayes.
All right. You know what? Nobody's eye sounds as much energy after Dr. Davis, but Resolution 2506 has passed. All right.
I'd like to make a motion to hear 2507 and 2508 as they both are regarding the same $12 million investment in the second district. Hear them jointly, but yet we would have to pass them separately.
All right. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Is there a committee report?
Yes, both 2507 and 2508 were heard in community investment and come forward with a favorable recommendation.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yep. Clerk Toronto, would you please read Bill 2507?
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 445 North Sheridan Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46619, an economic revitalization area for purposes of an 8-year real property tax abatement for GLC Sheridan LLC.
And would you also read 2508?
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 445 North Sheridan Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46619, an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 5-year personal property tax abatement for GTA Containers LLC.
All right. Is there a committee report?
Bill 2507 and 2508 were both heard by community investment and come forward with favorable recommendations.
Petitioner, I ask that you give your name and address for the record.
Apologize how many times you had to hear this. Joseph Molnar, Assistant Director of Growth and Opportunity with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. Before you today, both bills are in relation to tax abatement for property located at 445 North Sheridan, both real property as well as personal property. This is in consideration to development on the west side of South Bend, indicated by the map shown, and the images shown their current facilities today. GLC Sheridan is the property owner. However, GTA Containers would be the beneficiary of this abatement through the lease arrangement that they have on the site for the real property abatement. It's an 8-year abatement for approximately $11.9 million of private investment to develop the site, including building a new 112,500 square foot facility and creating 15 new full-time jobs. The personal property abatement is similar in the similar project. However, that is for the $2.3 million private investment to the manufacturing, and it would also create the same 15 full-time jobs. The current taxes on the property are a little under $12,000. Following the project completion, the estimated taxes would be $192,000. During that abatement period, approximately $833,000 taxes dollars would be paid and about $700,000 abated. Total estimated taxes during the 5-year abatement period for the personal property is about 184, of which 53,000 to be paid and 131 to be abated. We always like to show this slide because we do believe these abatements make these projects possible. With the abatement, even including the taxes abated, over 10 years, you'd see a little over $1.2 million of taxes paid. However, if this abatement did not go forward and the company was not able to make the investment here, over that same period, you'd only see about $120,000 of taxes. So a tenfold increase of tax dollars, even with the abatement, due to being able to support the new project. And a very similar story on the personal property. Right now, it's collecting absolutely zero taxes because the personal property doesn't exist. However, over the life of the abatement, over $53,000 would be paid that is not being paid now. And then, of course, after that 5 years, it would be fully taxed. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and I know GLC and GTA are here to answer any as well.
Commissioners, if you would like to make a statement.
Good evening. Isaac Hall with Great Lakes Capital, located at 7410 Aspect Drive in Granger, Indiana. Thank you, Mr. Molnar, for the introduction and overview of the projects. GLC is pleased to partner with another local South Bend company and continue our investment in the community. The proposed abatement, as was stated, will directly benefit GTA Containers due to the nature of the lease. And this will allow them to further invest in their workforce and their new equipment for the facility. The project will redevelop a currently underutilized site into a Class A industrial facility that will be an asset not only for the LaSalle Park neighborhood, but also South Bend as a whole. This investment represents GLC's positive outlook on the business environment here in South Bend, and we appreciate your time and consideration of this abatement. And with me tonight is Igor Popov with GTA Containers, who can give a little bit more information from the GTA side.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Igor Popov from GTA Containers. I'm the Chief Executive Officer. We're located at 4201 Linden Avenue on the west side of town. I think I'm going to speak more just to the people side of things. You know, we work in an underdeveloped area. We have a great team of people who work for our company. And we essentially have two businesses. We're a military contractor. We make covers and doors for vehicles. And the other side of the business is we make fuel and water temporary storage and distribution systems. One side of that business, the covers and doors business, is very labor intensive. The other side is less labor intensive, more skilled, and those are where the jobs are going to be added because we're seeing tremendous growth there. If we continue to grow without having a third building on our campus, what we would need to do is we need to relocate the majority of our people who make covers and doors to another location. So this is essentially keeping our team intact, keeping the business on the west side, and creating a beautiful campus in an area that could certainly use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council members, do you have any questions? All right, there's no questions. All right, we'll now go to the public hearing. Clerk Toronto, is there anyone would like to speak in favor of Resolution 2507?
Sue Castle, 4022 Kennedy Drive. It's not in favor or against. I listened to a lot of these abatements and new buildings. What I'm not hearing is what are they doing to make them green and sustainable? Because that's really the future of our city. Where are the solar panels on this? Where are the LEED certified aspects to this? The R rating insulation so they don't use as many utilities. I think we need to be asking greater questions and for the money for the taxpayers to have them step up and make them more sustainable. I'd like to see a sustainability statement with each of these to get into the mind that, you know, we need to do better. And I want to thank Kevin Smith, who was up here previously. He's done an amazing job of reclaiming materials and doing green things. And I'd like to see that impressed upon other investors so that going forward, future generations, there's less utilities and buildings that are built better. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone that's looking to speak in opposition?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Right. At this point, the public hearing portion is closed, but I will ask if they want to give a rebuttal or not.
Sure. Yeah, with a lot of our industrial developments, the buildings are, of course, built to code, but often exceed those requirements as far as energy efficiency ratings go. And we also design all of our buildings to be solar ready. So structurally, they're able to handle the load of a future solar array on the roof if that becomes an option. So that's something we're always considering.
All right. Thank you. All right, council members, any questions?
Just thank you for your investment on the west side and your investment in the city, both in the past and the future going forward. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
I'm grateful. I'm ready to vote.
Thank you for your investment. Now I will entertain a motion.
To adopt 2507.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Good Rogers. Aye. Councilmember White. Aye. Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
All right. Resolution 2507 has passed.
Move to adopt 2508.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Clerk Toronto, please call the roll.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember White. Aye. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Aye.
Councilmember Good Rogers.
Aye.
Councilmember McBride.
Aye.
Councilmember Dr. Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky.
Aye.
Vice President Thomas Morgan.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Resolution 2508 has passed. Has been adopted. Bills on the first reading. Clerk Toronto, please give Bill 05-25 a first reading.
First reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending the zoning ordinance for property located at 3527 Lincoln Way West, Councilmanic District Number 1, in the City of South Bend, Indiana.
I will now entertain a motion to send to the Plan Commission on February 17th, 2025, and then zoning annexation for public hearing and third reading on February 24th.
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion passes. All right, this is the part of the meeting where we have unfinished business. Seeing that we have none, is there any new business? Councilwoman Rachel Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, President Lee. I just want to announce that there is a public open house for the South Shoreline Airport Realignment Project. It is tomorrow, January 28th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Dickinson Intermediate Fine Arts Academy on 4404 Elwood Avenue.
That's where I work.
Anyone else?
I do,
yes.
President.
Dr. Davis.
It's not necessarily new business, it's kind of old business, but it's still new because we haven't done it. And that is, I think we as a council need to congratulate you for the award that you received on Dr. King Day for the Roland Kelly Award. So I just want to put that on the record to congratulate you for the outstanding award that you received. And it was an honor to see you receive that. So thank you.
Thank you. We don't do what we do for the rewards. We do it for make our city better.
But hey, labor's worthy of his hire. That's what the Bible also says. So,
Sheila, Councilwoman, I was ready to call you Vice President Skowski.
That's okay. Thank you, President Lee. Just want to give a quick update for two committees that I sit on outside of our standing committees. One of is Transpo. So we are in the very, very early stages, but they are looking at their strategic plan. That'll be a 4-year plan. Once it really starts to get initiated, that completion is going to take about 6 months. So there'll be more coming forward on that. I also sit on the Solid Waste Management District Board, and our current director, John Schulis, announced to us at the last meeting that he's going to be retiring somewhere in the beginning of June. So they have begun a job search for that position. So just an update to council members. If you have any questions on it, please feel free to contact me or ask.
Anyone else? All right. It is now time for the privilege of the floor. Please understand and hear me. Disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. Such speech and or actions, as well as verbal attacks on any person, may result in the individuals, without notice, forfeiting the remainder of his or her time. Individuals who wish to address the council must state their name and address, and individuals will be limited to 3 minutes only. The maximum time limit for this portion of the meeting shall be 30 minutes. Individuals shall not be permitted to address topics which the council has heard previously on the agenda. The council president may assign a topic raised by an individual during the privilege of the floor to the appropriate council member and or request the city clerk to contact a member of city administration for review, and topics assigned shall be responded to at the next scheduled council meeting. I ask that you give your name and address for the record.
Sue Casson, 422 Kennedy Drive. Hey, follow-up would be great. I'm glad to hear that. I'd love to get some follow-up. Today I stand before you to emphasize the true meaning of the word public, a word that should resonate deeply within these chambers. By definition, public means pertaining to the people, state, or community. It signifies that something is under the authority of government, belonging to and available to the people, not private. This definition holds weight because the mayor and council members were elected by the public, are paid by the public with tax dollars, convene in a public building to vote on public policy, and allocate public funds that should first and foremost benefit the public. Yet despite this clear and fundamental principle, South Bend has one of the highest per capita access public records filings in the state. Why is it that public information, which should be readily accessible, is instead being delayed, withheld, and strategically released too close to critical votes? This forces residents to navigate bureaucratic hoops, file APRA requests, and appeal to the Indiana Public Access Counselor just to attain what should be already available to them. When information and financial reports are withheld until after votes are cast, are provided too late for thorough research and public input, it undermines the democratic process. It strips the public their rightful role in governance and replaces it with control. A far cry from the democracy envisioned by our forefathers. Government transparency should not be an obstacle course, it should be a fundamental practice. As elected officials and stewards of the public trust, you have an obligation to uphold integrity and openness as a common value. The public should not have to fight for their right to information. Instead, transparency should be proactive, ensuring that policies, spending, and decisions are made with the full participation and knowledge of the community you serve. I urge you to take immediate action to improve the accessibility of public information, release all the missing financial reports, and make all redevelopment meetings and public work meetings available on YouTube. Let us reaffirm our commitment to a government that truly serves its people by fostering transparency, accountability, and trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yes, it's Logan Foster, 1138 College Street. To ensure clarity regarding the legislative responsibilities and authority of this council, I'd like to cite specific municipal codes from the South Bend Municipal Code. Section 2.1, the legislative power and authority of the city shall be vested in the Common Council. Section 210.1, to receive and hear any complaint properly filed which alleges misconduct of any council member or any violation of the rules and regulations thereof. Section 2.2, the council shall have the power to financially supervise and investigate all departments, officers, and employees of the city, and to investigate the affairs of any person with whom the city has entered or is about to enter into a contract. To elaborate, this legally requires the council to hear any properly filed complaint. The council is empowered to investigate personnel, be it officers, employees, or departments, along with anyone connected to contracts involving the city. These provisions emphasize that oversight and accountability sit at the core of the council's responsibilities. It is embarrassing that I must explain this to you. This brings us to recent events. On January 13th, during a council meeting, our parliamentarian, Bob Palmer, interrupted a speaker, asserting that the matter raised, quote, was not within the jurisdiction of the city or the Common Council to remove a council member. This claim is both incorrect and contradictory to the law. South Bend's municipal code and Indiana code clearly permit the council to act on such matters, including the removal of a council member. Parliamentarian Palmer further attempted to frame the speaker's statements as a personal attack. However, it is not a personal attack to ask the council to fulfill its legally mandated duties. It is not a personal attack for the public to demand accountability. It is not a personal attack to express, as a taxpayer, frustration over the lack of action from our elected officials. Taxpayers have both the right and responsibility, as granted by the Indiana Constitution and our Indiana's Bill of Rights, to instruct our representatives. This is a fundamental democratic principle. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Move to adjourn.
I do not see anyone additional from the public in person or online wishing to speak under privilege of the floor.
All right. If there be all, thank you all for coming and participating today. And this meeting is now adjourned. God bless you and be safe.